That ball you want to take, that there's a mistake.
And what do you know that every scout and coach on earth does not?
I'm thinking. I want total control of my team. I want to be able to recruit anybody that I want. No interference.
My word is my bond.
I want it in writing.
Missed it by that much.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary Draft Spotlight. This is a new segment we're going to be doing every Sunday, Bob and I, and maybe a few of the other guys will pop on from time to time. We're going to do this at 5 o'clock almost every week. Next week will be 1 o'clock. We'll tweet out the times to keep you guys informed, but 5 o'clock is going to be the normal time until the draft, until we go live with our Draft-a-Palooza on the actual draft. Bob, how's it going?
Wonderful. I like the name Draft-a-Palooza. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got a lot of plans. We've got guests. We're going to do all 3 days of the draft, so that'll be fun. We'll be on throughout the whole thing.
Draft contest with prizes.
Oh yeah, don't forget the Davies draft game there. That would be fun too. Mm-hmm. All right, so this podcast is going to be strictly for the draft. I know free agency's right around the corner. There's no real news yet, but Bob and I wanted to get a few topics that are on the top of our minds. Myles Garrett signing a big $40 million per year deal just before the free agency started. He demanded trade, showed him a little bit of money, and he's back. He's back in line.
He demanded a trade so he could get more money. He took page 1 out of the Antonio Brown playbook. I don't think he went that far with it to get more money. When he pulled it with the Steelers were like, "Oh, you want more money? Hey, we'll send you to the Raiders." For me, the real downside of this is, are we gonna pay TJ $41 million?
That's it, man. That's the topic. Do you pay? Maybe he comes in a little less than Myles Garrett because he's a little older. But you're looking at what the Raiders guy signed for 35, right? So between 35 and 40, he's not going to sign less, I don't think.
And he's same draft class as Myles Garrett.
That's true.
They're basically the same age. I know Garrett's a little bit younger, but I don't know.
40 million a year, dude.
Yeah, that's more than a quarterback.
They're gonna pay him. They're not trading him. As much as I think they should trade him, and I don't know how you feel about that, they're not going to trade him. So now, and I tweeted this out earlier, the longer you wait, the worse this gets.
Yeah. Because
there's a couple more guys. The kid in Dallas has got his new deal coming up. These numbers are going to keep going up. They should have done this. If they're going to do it, they should have done this 2 months ago.
Yeah, I totally agree. Relic's got a point. The Browns still don't have a quarterback, and unfortunately,
neither do the Steelers.
I know.
We are becoming the Browns. This is becoming like that Spider-Man meme where they point at each other. We're both going to sign a nearly 30-year-old edge guy for record-setting money. Neither one have a quarterback, and neither one have a prayer making the playoffs. Make the playoffs, but not winning deep in the playoffs.
At least the Browns, they're in position where they could have their pick of the quarterbacks. It's just a matter of do they and are they high on Shedeur Sanders, or does Tennessee pass on Cam Ward, which is a possibility? And
they've talked about that.
Yeah, if you all of a sudden get Cam Ward, then arguably Cleveland might be ultimately in a better position if they get Cam Ward and we get
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson. That's the nightmare scenario. I know we talked a little bit about it before.
It is the nightmare scenario. 100%.
I'd really rather have, virtually anybody else. I'm
with you, Bob. 100% with you. Since we're talking about quarterbacks, another free agent thing, and Bob and I are on the same page of this one. We haven't heard about Justin Fields by now. I don't think this is happening, man. I think once he hits free agency, he's gone. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I've been saying it for a couple of months on the podcast. I feel like, and it's coming home to roost. Yes, Justin Fields was a good soldier, but Tomlin benched him, and at this point, if the rumors are true that, hey, why would I trust that Mike Tomlin is going to keep his word and keep me the starter, especially if, they go and pick a quarterback in this draft. And ultimately, another point we kind of made on the podcast was I got a chance to go work with the Jets offensive coordinator, who is a Ben Johnson disciple. And the Detroit Lions were that coaching staff is fans of Justin Fields. Or I can go back to Arthur Smith, who loves Justin Fields. I mean, the reports are that Smith is doing everything he can to be like, hey, man, things are going to be good. We're going to run the offense in a different way. But I mean, I as much as you might like Arthur Smith, and I know a lot of people don't, I'm going to work with the Ben Johnson guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting threatened by the Jets roster. I don't care who you fucking draft. I mean, even if you get Shador, I'm good. Shador is probably going to sit on the bench behind me for a year or two, and I don't have to. I got Garrett Wilson, my college receiver. Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I think he's going to the Jets. I hope he doesn't, but I think he will.
That's the interesting part is, will the Jets guarantee him a starting spot for this? Because that's what seems what he was looking for between either the Steelers or the Jets, for someone to tell him, yeah, you're going to be the starter all year. You're not going to. And if they draft Shador Sanders, I don't know if you can guarantee, especially in New York, if he struggles a little bit and Shador Sanders is on the bench, oh boy. Well, I don't know.
They could pull a Cousins, where Atlanta was like, oh, you're a guy, Kirk.
Yeah.
A month later, the draft rolls around. We're using a top 10 pick. So we'll see what happens.
All right, you want to jump into the? We're going to go over Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. If you're not familiar with Daniel Jeremiah, he's about as plugged in as anybody in the NFL. I mean, he's a former scout. He's been doing this for a while on NFL Network. You might not agree with his rankings, but he's talking to NFL people. He's talking to general managers. He's talking to scouts. He's plugged in. So you have to at least pay attention to where he's got players, especially a player that seems out of place to you. So that means he's heard something, and you should pay very close attention to that. So Let's start. We're going to do 10. We're going to go 10 at a time, and I'll read the top 10, and we'll just talk about it. He's got Abdul Qadir 1, Travis Hunter 2, Ashton Jeanty 3, Mason Graham 4, Tyler Warren 5, Colston Loveland 6, Jalen Walker 7, Jahdae Barron 8, Will Campbell 9, and Cam Ward 10. No real surprises there. I know Jahdae Barron's a little higher than you thought.
I mean, and just so everybody knows, the names in white as we go are names that have been associated with the Steelers, either through rumor or through like our mocks, or when we get to our top 10s, people who we think belong in there. It's interesting to me that Jeanty is ranked that high and he hasn't run yet.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the projection is he'll run pretty fast. And if I did this on my profile of him yesterday. If it's less than 4.45, I think he's the first back taken. I don't necessarily think the Steelers should be the ones who do that, but I'm really surprised Jeremiah has him ranked that high. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, I think he's got like 400 tight ends in his top 50.
Again, I think we're going to learn that this draft is weak. And I think these guys are grasping for straws to put top 50 players together, because it's not a great draft. You're going to see guys get pushed up high. And I listened to his podcast, and he raves about Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. He raves about them. They're pretty good players. It'll be interesting to see when they work out. Apparently Loveland's going to be a little bit more athletic, but Tyler Warren's going to be a little bigger. So that's an interesting. But you know my feelings on Tyler Warren. If he falls to the Steelers, I will be over the moon. Over the moon.
Yeah. but so here's the reason, and Jeremiah kind of illustrates the reason why I wouldn't be high on Warren at 23, because according to this, we can get three. The guy right behind him, Colston Loveland, we can get him. We can get any of these other tight ends. I mean, he's got Elijah Arroyo down at 45. I've seen in mocks where he doesn't go to the 4th or 5th round. So,
Yeah. We'll get a better feel for this stuff once they do their pro days, because, especially a guy like Loveland could knock out his pro day and you'd be like, oh shit, yeah, this guy is a top 10 player. And, those numbers are a little skewed when you're at your pro day. You got perfect conditions. You've got your buddy holding the stopwatch. You've got your buddy, so those things generally go really well. So it'll be really. Will Compton at 9. I've heard some stuff about him. His arms are really, really short. Under 33 inches, like 32 and change.
Talking about him pushing
being
into
a guard.
Yeah.
Which is, and still having him 9 is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, just because, what's his name from the Eagles? Dickerson. Everybody thought he was going to be a tackle, but then he comes out and they moved him inside and he was, really, really good. So I don't necessarily disqualify a tackle with short arms. The Skoronski with the Titans, and that was kind of the knock on him, and he's pretty good. I love the idea of Fatanu moving to guard because of all his knee problems.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less, and maybe you get some power after what we saw with Mekhi Becton, with the leaving the Jets, going to the Eagles, and all of a sudden becoming a revelation at guard.
Yeah. Relic's got a question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Relic's got a question in chat. Dave, what do you do if Tyler Warren is at 21 and so is Emeka Egbuka? What would you do? I'm doing Warren. I'm down on this wide receiver class completely. I think who would you be your number one wide receiver be in this draft? Is it Golden, Texas?
I still think I
McMillan?
still think it's McMillan. Which I'm really surprised they moved Matthew Golden ahead of him, or Jeremiah did.
It was the combine, the 40 that he ran. That's why he's rocketing up. I think any of these guys would be 4, 5, and 6 in last year's draft, behind your neighbors and those guys, or at least 3, 4, 5. It's not a great.
I think it's more like 6, 7, 8.
Could be. I got to go look at the list again of wide receivers from last year. It's neighbors. It's the Arizona kid,
Brian Thomas.
Roma
Dunze.
Yeah, Roma. That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, I take Warren over. What's the Steelers' best scenario? Go 2 tight ends, run the ball, because the quarterback's not going to be the strength of this team.
Yeah.
So if you add Tyler Warren to Pat Fryermuth and run the ball, maybe you get lucky in the second round and get a good running back falls, and you're off to the races. To me, that's the best case scenario.
I mean, but I kind of agree with Vaughn here, to be honest with you.
Defensive line. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, once we get into our draft rankings, it'll be interesting. Because I know we've got some divergence. We've got some crossover, but there's a lot of divergence. But I'm looking back at, like last year, Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think was a disappointment, but I would still take him over anybody in this class.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Brian Thomas, who I love. And I think
Brian
the
Thomas
should have
too.
picked Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall, who really flashed when he got into the lineup for the 49ers.
I think I might draw the line there. I think Pearsall would be the line for me. That's when I start taking.
I got a couple of the names. I don't think you'll draw the line.
Okay, go ahead.
Lad McConkey.
No, yeah, he'd be ahead of most of these guys. Yep, for sure.
And I could make an argument for Keon Coleman. I think that's the line. I know Leggett went before him. I'm just seeing if we're missing. Well, Adonai Mitchell, although he didn't really flash much.
Yeah, Adonai Mitchell. I forgot about him too. Yeah, that wide receiver class was all time.
Yeah, wait. Hold on. We're forgetting the best wide receiver in the draft, Roman Wilson.
Malik Neighbors. Who?
Roman Wilson.
I had to hear that again. I'm like, what? The one wild card in this, is Matthew Golden. That 40 time he ran, he's a very good route runner, supposedly a clean prospect as far as, no issues off the field stuff, no injuries. He would maybe sneak into my top 5 between these 2 years running.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the fence on that one, but he's pretty good. If Matthew Golden fell to 21, then I'd have a decision. Then I'd have a tough decision.
Yeah, I agree. And when we get into our rankings, I think we both have him thought of very highly. Moving down, I'm a little surprised Cam Ward is 10 because everybody's thinking that, hey, he'll be top 1 or 2 picks. But that being said, let's face it, he's not, last year's draft class, he's probably not in the top 4 or 5. But when we go down to that next set, 11 to 20, there's a lot of familiar names here.
Let's read them.
Yeah, Armand Membo, the tackle, really good player, but we can't do that. Jihad Campbell, linebacker. I'm a little surprised that linebackers ranked that high. Will Johnson is falling at the corner from Michigan. And then some guys we really like. Amarian Hampton, Matthew Goldman. I'm not even going to try to say his name. Egbuka, Shador Sanders. Remember that name? Nick Emanwari, another guy I love. And Mikael Williams. So there's a lot of guys here that if they fall to the Steelers at 21, we got to really think about whether we take a weapon here.
Yeah, Shador is falling, and some of these Somber just put up Shador at 18. Wow. I don't know if it's smoke or if it's real. I don't know what to make of the Shador Sanders. You guys know I'm not overly impressed with him, but everything you heard going into this is he's a top 2 quarterback. Dave just chimed in. He's distracting. Dar a bust. That's right, buddy. That is right. Yes, I don't know what you – I know you like Shador Sanders a lot. I don't know. And again, this is a ranking. Teams could prioritize quarterback and he could go top 5 easily.
Yes.
Easily. But it is surprising that he went that far down. I was surprised at the linebacker too. I haven't spent a lot of time on linebackers, I'm going to be honest, because I would be shocked if the Steelers – I would be freaking more than shocked if they took a linebacker at 21. But yeah, I can't speak to him. Armand Membu is getting a lot of buzz. Like he could go high, top 10 type high. He's probably the best offensive lineman. He tested it out of this world at the combine. He's going to be good.
If the Jets do go Fields and secure him, I could see the Jets taking Membo.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The Patriots could take him at 5.
Yeah.
Or 4 or wherever they are at, because they need an offensive lineman really badly. And the Ravens re-signed their tackles, so he's off. He was the number 1 tackle in free agency. He's off the board, so I think a lot of teams are scrambling now.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Who else we got on here?
I did the draft profile on today on Marion Hampton.
Love him.
When I did it, if you haven't watched it yet, Omarion Hampton is a Najee Harris clone, but he's the upgrade. He's not as big, but he's strong and he's way faster.
Way faster.
And he's a much more decisive runner, which is sometimes to his detriment, because if you watch like when Jaylen Warren runs, he hits the hole and boom. But the problem is when it's blocked and it's not blocked well, Jaylen Warren hits the hole and gets a yard. There's going to be a lot of that with this kid. We're not going to see dancing in the backfield. Hey, I'm going to do something. This kid's just going to plow up in there and he'll get 2 or 3 yards. But there'll be times when he bursts through the line and then he's gone. And that's what I really like about him.
When I watched him, he screams Steeler. Like he's big, physical, not big height-wise, but he's a thick-framed guy. He hits the hole. He's got speed. Speed out of the backfield, Bob. Can you even imagine? We haven't had speed in the backfield since who? Parker?
We got Jalen. Well, I mean, he's
but I mean, what's Jalen, like a 4.5 guy? Like,
I think he's high 4.4s.
Maybe, but this is another level. This is home run hitting type speed, which is this team any kind of offensive weapon this team needs, and it seems like running back is the best position. And I think there's a cutoff, right? This not a cutoff. There's tiers.
Yes.
I think it's Ginty, Hampton, Henderson. Would you throw Judkins in?
I want to see Sampson run.
Yeah.
If Sampson runs what he's supposed to run, you got to keep him in that top tier. I think Caleb Johnson really hurt himself with the time.
Yeah, he did.
You know, when I was doing the Hampton research, I remembered, because the more I watched, I was like, this guy's Najee but faster. And then I went back. Najee came out during the COVID year, and he didn't run. And he didn't run at his pro day because of an injury. And I'm wondering if he had run, and the rumor was there's a rumor he ran like a 4.48. There's also a rumor he ran a 4.66. If he had run and been in the 4.5s, would the Steelers have picked him?
Yeah, because I don't believe he ran the 4.4. I don't believe that for a second. I didn't never see that. I never see that on the field. I don't know if they would. I think they would have. I think their mind was made up.
But it done it in the second round, because let's face it, if Najee got picked in the second round, nobody would be down on him.
Somber said Jalen ran a 4.55, so he's quick, not fast. But he's if he ran a 4.55, Najee ran the 4.6 then. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Think about how desperate we are for some speed and honestly, Jalen looks fast when he plays. He plays fast. But he had that one nice run against Buffalo, and we're thinking he's a 4.55 home run hitter. Imagine what happens if we get somebody like Hampton or one of these, or Tootin or somebody like that. It's going to look like lightning.
Yep. Your boy Nick Emenwari. I got to work on that name. Emenwari from South Carolina is 19th on this list.
I love this kid. I love it. The more I watch, the more I like. And I know but I know, okay, you're playing major college football, okay. But bottom line is that team wasn't going anywhere. I know they kind of made a late run in the East, but that team, because you look at their defense, this should have been a top 10 team, and they weren't. So I just
they got some players. TJ Sanders is in this draft. They have another defensive lineman in this draft too, whose name is escaping me. But yeah, they had some talent on that defense.
Yeah, and look, you can't teach size and speed. And you give me a faster version of Kyle Hamilton, and I think Emenwari hits harder than Hamilton. I don't know that he's quite the leader that Kyle Hamilton is. Yeah. But yeah, I love this kid. You guys are talking about taking a tight end because they're so special. Yeah, this kid is special. I want him in the middle of the defense.
If I thought the Steelers were creative enough to take him and then trade one of their safeties for some extra picks, I might be for this. But I don't know if I don't see them doing that. So it's kind of like, I've seen some people say he could be like a linebacker in passing downs because he's that big, and you could use him like a Joker type role where he covers tight ends and do some creative stuff with that. I wouldn't, if the board fell to where, a lot of these players were gone, and I wouldn't be totally mad with it. Will Johnson has been mocked to the Steelers a little bit. I've been seeing that. I don't know, man. That hip injury, he's the one with the hip injury, right?
I think that's Morrison. Well, either way.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. That is Morrison. He's got ankle or something. I don't know.
Johnson played really good 2 years ago, but I think it was Tony Pauline when he was on with you was talking about he likes guys who are trending up, not down. Yeah. The one corner I love, and I still love him. I gotta see him do it on the field again. I gotta know that he's healthy. I do love Ravel, and But that being said, I'm not taking any chances if I go corner in the first or second round that he is not 1,000,000% on the field on day one. I know it was iffy on the combine, but there was a chance. Let's see what happens at his pro day. If he don't run in his pro day, if he's around in the 4th or 5th, okay, fine. But I can't do a top 3 pick on him. And I know he fell out of Jeremiah's top 50.
Yeah, he did, which is crazy, right? Yeah. That means he's if this falls into place, he'd be a late second round pick at best. And this guy was getting like top 20 buzz for a while. But I think that injury isn't quite where they thought it would be at this point. I think a lot of people thought he would run at the combine or at least his pro day, and it doesn't look like he's going to run it either. So his stock is falling. Anybody else in this we want to hit on? We hit on Membu.
No, I'll talk
Shedeur.
about Shedeur a little bit when
All right,
we get
good,
into my top 10. A lot of some interesting names in the next 10.
Yep. We've got Michael Williams, the edge out of Georgia. I don't see the Steelers taking an edge. Mike Green, another edge. James Pierce, another edge. Tyler Booker, an interior offensive line. And I told you guys, I wouldn't rule it out completely, depending on how the board falls. Gray Zabel, interior. He played tackle, but he's going to move inside. Max Starks. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle. His highest defensive tackle, right? No, besides Mason Graham. Second highest defensive tackle. Interesting. Jamal Stewart, who I want to talk about in a few minutes. Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas. And Donovan Ezerike, edge, I believe, Boston College. A lot of edges in this 10 block, right?
Yeah, a lot of edges, a couple of guards, and a couple of guys we both like a lot. Why don't you show everybody, kind of get ahead of yourself on your Shamar Stewart thinking?
Where'd the slide go? I lost it. Oh. Sorry, Bob. Can you pull up the slide?
Yes, no problem. Hold on.
Sorry, I'm going to screw this up. Technology and Ask Dave. Technology and me do not. Oh, Shamar Stewart.
Yes.
Let's. Oh, technical difficulties, guys. I apologize. We're
okay.
Let's try this again.
All right, I'll put it up.
All right, there we go. I was looking at his RES score, which was the perfect 10, right? Ridiculous. People kill him for lack of production. I think it's only 4 sacks over his entire college career. It reminded me of Bud Dupree big time. And when I went to look at, and we have them both up on the screen, these guys are almost identical. For some, you know why? Bud got knocked off because he did the shuttle and 3-cone, and Shamar Stewart didn't, and he didn't do very well on that. So that's what knocked, or he would have been a perfect 10 too. This was, and I told Bob in the chat before we got on, if Kevin Colbert was still general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, this guy would be right in the running to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's big, physical, athletic, just the way they used to like their edge rushers. I don't know if that's still the way they like their edge rushers, because Hall of Fame Herbig doesn't exactly fit into that physical category. And neither does Highsmith, really, right? Highsmith's a little smaller, not quite the athlete that these guys are. So
yeah,
I just thought it was super interesting how close these guys were. And there is a real possibility that Stewart could fall to 21. So it's an interesting comp.
I mean, I kind of get it. I just don't think from an edge perspective, I see where you're going with it, but I don't think they can afford to take an edge. Yeah, that's a good point. He kind of looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane on the field. I know Ramon Foster at the Combine when he was on the Steelers show with Matt Williamson, and the other guy's name escapes me. They were Ramon Foster was down on any Texas A&M player. He says they all, they come to the NFL and they just don't translate. This kid maybe. Look, if his comp was Bud Dupree, I don't think Bud Dupree plays over Alex Highsmith. Never mind T.J. Watt. So,
oh, come on. The problem if Bud stays healthy, he's an all-pro type talent. He just couldn't stay healthy. That was a big knock on him.
Well, I mean, Highsmith is demonstrated that he's pretty close to elite level. I mean, he's had more sacks at the position than Dupree ever did. So, and part of that's health, but part of it's just, I really think Alex is just better.
I don't know better. I think Bud's more talented. I think you may have a point where Highsmith has a better plan, a pass rush plan. He might be a little bit more refined than Bud was. Bud was just a physical brute.
I also think he's better as an all-around player because
I think Bud was better than him against the run than Highsmith. Bud was a monster.
Highsmith's pretty good against the run, but he's, in my opinion, way better in coverage when they drop him.
Probably, yeah. Bud was never good at dropping back in the coverage. That was never his thing.
I mean, we're looking at 2 years ago, he 14.5 sacks. Or 3 years ago now, actually. Last year, 2 years ago, 7. Last year with the injuries, he was on pace for a big year. He ended up with 6. So, and then you compare him to Dupree.
I was just looking at Bud Dupree.
And let's face it, there's a lot of people when he was here who were down on Bud Dupree. I always thought he was okay, but I mean Dupree's best year 11.5. So,
yeah.
And
he was always second
really
banana too.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared. I mean,
the injuries took their toll. I think that 2019 season was the only season he was really fully healthy. He just couldn't stay healthy. It's too bad.
Yeah, no,
I want to pull it back
down. Yeah.
So we'll go back to this. Who else do you like in this group?
Well, the guy I love is Kenneth Grant. I like him.
Me too.
I do not like the Oregon kid. I don't. I'm watching tape on him and I'm like, I don't really like Mason Graham either. I don't get the appeal. I think Grant's a monster. And I think nowadays, if you're going to play, especially on a 3-4, you better get 3 monsters up there because there's a lot of teams playing 4-3. Now, if we were a 4-3, I'd be a little more interested in Mason Graham and Derek Harmon, but I'm sticking them on a 3-4. I don't see either one of those guys could translate to end, and I certainly don't see either one as a nose.
Yeah, Kenneth Grant is the ideal Steelers defensive lineman. He's really good. What do we got here from Relic? What was his pass rush win rate? Oh God,
not the same as Shamar Turner's.
No, PFF's making excuses for Shamar Stewart. Believe me, they're already talking. Yeah, he's making all. They've said he's got a ton of pressures in college. Blah blah blah. I get it.
That's why I texted you early. Do you mean Shamar Turner or Shamar Stewart? And I was like, because Turner has that reputation as being the dirtiest player in college football.
Does he really? I didn't even know that. Yeah. Oh boy.
I was like, okay, that's what we need some of on the field.
I had Kenneth Grant as their first pick in my latest mock. I think if he's around, I don't know how they pass up on him. I don't, unless Golden somehow falls, and then they have a decision to make. But if we'll be in a realistic draft, Kenneth Grant is probably. I think he's the favorite in the clubhouse right now for the Steelers' first round pick. I don't know how you feel about it. Yeah,
I would agree. The only thing I'm worried about is he won't be there.
It's a possibility. There's a couple of interior offensive linemen who they probably won't take. Malachi Starks was the number 1 safety in this class until the combine, and then which he had a pretty good combine, but Emmett Warrior just killed him.
Yeah, and I did the profile on Ty Robinson. I like him, watching him.
He tested out of this world.
Yeah, he tested great. And my only concern is when a guy who's listed at 310 drops down to 280 and runs a fast time. I wonder if he puts 20 pounds back on, does he all of a sudden? And at 288, he's definitely that's an end, not a tackle.
Yeah,
but in a 3-4, that's the kind of guy you want. He'd be very interesting as a day 3 pick. I think if they double down, I wouldn't be upset if he was the guy they doubled down with.
100%. Tyreek Williams, I haven't had a chance to watch yet. I don't know much about him. I'm going to be totally honest. I think he's in that no man's land between 21 and 53, where he's going to go somewhere in that middle. And the Steelers, it's too early at 21. It's going to be too late at 53. I think for him. So I haven't spent a lot of time on him. Are we missing anybody else from this? I don't think so. We're not taking Ezra Rocky or Kelvin Banks to tackle.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Go ahead.
I was going to say with Relic, look, if you're going to go cheaper on the defense, which let's take Kansas City for an example. They get their players through the draft and they don't re-sign anybody. So if you're going to go with that philosophy, then you have to. And we haven't drafted defense in the first round in a long time now.
It's been a couple years, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Najee, Pickett, Fatanu, and Broderick.
Yeah, it's going to be 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it goes all the way back to Devin Bush, doesn't it?
I think Devin Bush was the last one. I do believe it, yeah. So get ready, Relic, because I think there might be a defensive player.
Bunch of guys we like now in the next 10.
Let's do the next 10. 31, Luther Burden, the wide receiver out of Missouri, who I kind of like. I don't know if 21 would be too early for him. Does he make it to 53? I don't know. Maxwell Hairston, who blew away the fastest 40 at the combine. Travion Henderson, great back from Ohio State. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Mississippi. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle. We're not doing tackles. Quinshawn Junkins had a great combine, running back, Ohio State. Mason Taylor, tight end from Miami. Josh Connolly, offensive tackle. Donovan Jackson, interior offensive lineman. And my man, Jackson Dart at 40.
Number 40 with a bullet.
With a bullet.
There's some, Burton is an interesting guy because he's falling. Little bit of George Pickens, rumored, not the same play, not that he's the comparable player, but a little bit of rumor that
not really off the field stuff, but off the field stuff,
can be Moody on the field. So what the hell? We get DK Metcalf, George Pickens throwing Luther Burden.
Can you imagine those three in the same in the same locker room? Holy shit!
Mike Tomlin, a psychiatrist, and
you need to give that wide receiver coach hazard pay for that. Those three together. Holy crap!
There are some guys I really like as backup plans here. First of all, Walter Nolan is really good, and if we don't get Kenneth Grant, getting him is not a bad idea. I love Travion Henderson. I wouldn't pick him in the first 2 rounds. I might pick him at 53.
Yeah, 53,
I definitely wouldn't pick him in the top 50. Quinshawn Judkins is interesting. I'd kind of want the Batman, not the Robin, in my opinion, but I see why people like him. And,
he's physical. He is physical. He's tough to tackle. He's a low, and he ran 4.4 at the combine to top it all off.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He'd definitely be an upgrade, but there's a couple of guys I like better than him. And if you're familiar with the podcast, I am not a huge fan of Jackson Dart in the first 2 rounds. Once we start to get into day 3, I'm okay with virtually any quarterback they take. I think Dart is being way overvalued.
I honestly don't see your issue with him. I mean, you got to remember, he's playing in the SEC with Ole Miss, which there's some talent there, but it's not like Alabama, Georgia level talent. And he was successful his entire career with Mississippi. I think he was at USC to start, but his last 2 years with Mississippi, they were good. And he's a good quarterback. I just don't see he's accurate. He might not have the best arm in the draft class. I will grant you that. Seems like a smart kid. I don't see the downside in this draft. Obviously, last year's draft, we're not even talking about Jackson Dart in the top 5 or 4 anyway. But in this draft, I don't see the difference between him and Shedeur Sanders. I really don't.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. Lane Kiffin has been around college football now for a long time. And, he's still a young guy, but he's been around now.
He's been around quite a long time.
Yeah. And his quarterbacks typically do not translate well to the NFL. First of all, he's really good at designing an offense and making his quarterbacks look good.
Yes, yep.
But they're one-read type of quarterbacks. I mean, you look at Matt Corral a couple of years ago in the Kenny Pickett draft. Everybody loved this kid. He did get hurt, but he never got on the field. Carolina kind of got rid of him, and he just never really translated because these guys, they're see it, throw it guys. The Steelers desperately need, and haven't had this since Ben, is a guy who can walk up to the line of scrimmage and say, this play is fucked. I'm going to do this instead and get the ball out of their hands quickly. And I just don't. I see him as, honestly, people talk about, oh, he's got ability, he runs around. I was like, it's Justin Fields.
He's a good athlete. He's a good athlete. When he tucks it and runs, he's pretty good.
Yeah, but he's not as good as Justin Fields. So
no.
no.
Athletically, no.
Yeah, if I want a guy who's going to run around with the football, I would think Justin Fields. Now,
I think that's all our first choice is Justin Fields. That would be. I think the majority of Steeler fans want Justin Fields over anybody. I will grant you, I don't think he took a snap under center this year. So there's going to be some work for that because that's the way Kiffin's offense runs. That's definitely something he's going to have to get used to.
And in the Arthur Smith offense, he's going to be under center all the time.
Yeah, I will grant you that landing with the Steelers probably isn't the best scenario for Jackson Dart. I think he needs to go somewhere, maybe not start right away, with a better offensive-minded coach who can coach him out. If he landed in Minnesota or Los Angeles or Miami, I think he's going to be a star. I really do. But your point is well taken that Pittsburgh is not that place. So yes. I get it.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point that, if somebody reaches for a quarterback, I forgot about Indy.
They said they want to bring competition. I think it's veteran competition, but you never know.
I wouldn't be shocked if they cut Richardson. I really wouldn't. I mean, they won't cut him without a plan B. I would think.
No, I don't. Well, I heard he's on the market. That they've been calling around, seeing if anybody would like to trade for him, which is interesting. I've also heard Daniel Jones kind of smoke in Indianapolis. I think they might like Daniel Jones, so that would be a blockbuster, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who want to go work with Shane Steichen. I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good offensive coach there in Indianapolis. So if he can't get it in Indianapolis, I don't know where he's going, where he's going to be successful. Getting back to this, we talked about Junkins, Walter Nolan. I would be first round. He had a lot of first round buzz early on in the process, but now it's kind of fallen off a little bit.
Still does. I mean, he I don't think he's going to drop anything. He will not drop out of the first round. I just think Grant has kind of passed him up. It really just depends on what kind of defense you're running. I'd be shocked if you told me we could get a playmaker at 21, who I don't love the playmakers in this draft. I know Somber had asked early about tight ends. I think you missed the beginning where we said there's 900 tight ends in the top 50.
Yeah, Tyler Warren, buddy.
Yeah,
Tyler Warren.
But I mean, look, we got a tight end sitting right here at 37, and we're going to see another tight end here. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 tight ends in the top 50.
And I watched Arroyo. I don't really. We'll get to that. I'm not a really huge fan of his. One more thing before we get off this top 10: Maxwell Hairston. Is there a possibility the Steelers take him at 21? And that 40 time.
I don't think so because he can't play. Well, I won't say he can't. He didn't play nickel. So he's 5'11".
That's not bad for outside corner. It's not ideal, but it's not like 5'9" where you got to kick him inside.
Yeah,
I get it. There's some big receivers that would give him problems, but that's what you got JPJ for, right?
Well, and
in theory,
yeah. Here's in the next 10, we got Trey Amos, guy I really like, Azariah Thomas, Joey Porter clone, corners, Joshua Farmer, really good option in the second round, I think,
for
him. Defensive tackle. Benjamin Morrison, who I do not like, and I'm a Notre Dame fan. Elijah Arroyo, tight end. Personally, I think Fedone is better. Carson Swessinger, linebacker. We cannot take a linebacker. Another edge, Landon Jackson. Caleb Johnson, I'm really surprised is still in the top 50. Yeah. Although when you watch his production, I get it. Darius Alexander, defensive tackle, nice player. And then Marcus Mabeau at offensive tackle. So there are some names here when we get into the 40s. I mean, you like Dart. I think either one of those two corners, if you told me right now we're getting those two in the second round, sign me up.
Yeah, me too. You can feel a little bit of a drop off here now. We're starting to get into the weeds. It's not as good. I mean, I like Amos and Thomas and Farmer, but the Morrison scares to death. Landon Jackson's interesting, right? If they were going to get an edge, I mean, this would be the year to take an edge to replace TJ 2 years down the line, right? And unless you think Herbig is that guy, which I'm not gonna. He could be.
He could be,
but I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Harrison off the field. Have you? Somber brought up off the field stuff.
I have not, but I'll definitely look into it because I'm going to be doing a profile on him next week.
Okay.
And he's an interesting guy. I mean, honestly, if I'm going to go edge, I still like the UCLA kid because I think we can get him on day 3. And the guy Tomlin seemed to like Alejo or however you say his name. But I mean, honestly, the name I'm really surprised is still in the top 50 because Jack Sawyer dropped out. And I think he's actually pretty good. I don't understand why Benjamin Morrison is. Personally, I mean, I hope for his sake he gets back and plays anywhere near where he was 2 years ago. He wasn't looking great before he got hurt this year.
Yeah,
so,
he wasn't. You're right. I'm surprised he's in the top 52, to be honest with you. I am.
Because I really don't think he's going to play this year. I do think there's a good chance with medicine and everything that he'll be back. Or if he does play, I don't see him playing the first half of the year, which, a draft pick who doesn't play sounds like a Steeler to me.
Well, that is the con artist's MO. But again, we need a solid draft of healthy players this year. We can't gamble in this draft again and have somebody miss the season. You just can't. Just to go back a little bit on Landon Jackson, he 40.5 vertical, 10.9 broad, 4.68 at his size. He's 6'6", 264. That is ideal outside linebacker size. And again, the second round, it's a possibility.
I mean, if I knew we were going to trade TJ, I think that would be a telegraph of, if they don't get a contract done and all of a sudden they pick an edge in the first 2 rounds, now I think all of a sudden there's a lot of smoke. But if you're going to trade TJ, you got to do it before the draft. I mean, otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, I agree. All right. You want to go to our top 10 boards?
Let's take a look at our top 10s. This should be interesting.
All right. Do you want to do yours first, and I'll do mine, and we'll contrast and compare?
Yes. So I got Kenneth Grant as my number 1 first choice. If Grant and Demon Warrior are sitting there, I'm really torn. Now, if Grant's off the board and Eamon Warrior's off the board and Matthew Golden's there, and even if they're not, I can maybe see the logic. But just a reminder, Mike Tomlin has never drafted a wide receiver in the first round. So, you're not going to get Golden in the second round. And I question whether he might even be there. But if all 3 are on the board, I think you got to go Grant, although I'd be tempted by Eamon Warrior. My next guy, Walter Nolan, is kind of if all 3 of those guys are gone, he's my backup plan. I do have Shedeur Sanders at number 5. Look, I'm not trading up for Shedeur. I'm not going out of my way to get him. But if I'm sitting at 21 and Shedeur Sanders is on the board, I'm taking him because I think last year he would have been number 6. And I'd be okay with number 6 in last year's draft. I think there's upside to him. I also think when you start to look at, let's face it, Steelers are not going to go 5-12. They're just not. They're going to go 9-8, 10-7. And then when you start to look at next year's draft, I'm not 100% confident unless they trade up, they're going to be in a position to take a quarterback. So I'm probably rolling the dice here. If he falls and if I go past him and he's still on the board by like 26, 27, I'm trading back up to get him then.
We should mention that our bottom 5 is what we think the best bets are for the second round pick. Our top 5 is first round, and our bottom 5 is the second round pick.
Yeah,
so,
guys who would be happy to see. Omarion Hampton, he's a 14th ranked player. I don't want to see the Steelers pick. Now, if we traded back in the first round, we got him like picked 28 to 32 and picked up a second and a third. Yeah, I'm okay with Omari and Hampton. I love, yeah, everybody knows I love Jaden Higgins. I'm not alone
like
on
him
that.
too.
I'm not surprised. I am really surprised he's not in the top 50, especially with, all these tight ends in here. Darian Porter. Some people will look at it and go, who? He's another giant cornerback who ran really fast at the combine, has very good tape. He's a guy who, if I'm in the second round and it's coming around and, a lot of these playmakers are off the board, now maybe I'm looking at him. I love Joshua Farmer in the second round. If we go playmaker in the first or Eamon Worry and we come back and get Farmer, you told me it was going to be Eamon Worry and Farmer in the first 2 rounds. Then we're going to get Torrey Horton in the third or fourth. I'm really happy with that. And Trevion Henderson. I don't think we're going to be in position to take Hampton. I get Trevion Henderson at 52. I like that idea.
I'll be honest before I go in my top. I think I'd rather have Darian Porter than Azariah Thomas in my list. I forgot about Darian Porter when I was putting my list together. Yeah, so that's a good one. My top 5, in case you guys didn't know, I'm desperate for a playmaker like there's no tomorrow. I'm desperate for offensive football for the Steelers. Omarion Hampton, to me, like I said earlier, he screams Steelers. Speed. He's not bad on the backfield catching the ball either. Not his strong suit, but not bad. Matthew Golden, I think, is the best receiver in this draft. Man, 4.39, the way he runs routes and the way he plays, I would be pretty ecstatic with that too. We haven't seen Egbuka run yet, so we're going to be interested to see how he runs. If he runs in the 4.4s, he might be the first wide receiver taken because everyone loves everything else about this guy. He blocks. He's a great receiver. He runs routes great. Supposed to be like a top guy in the locker room. If he runs a fast time, Egbuka's going to go up in this draft. And then Kenneth Grant. Oh, I spoke about him earlier. He just seems like it's a foregone conclusion. The Steelers need defensive tackle. We'll know. Free agency is going to tell us a lot, right?
Right.
If they sign a defensive tackle or a corner, then we know they're going in another direction. So that's yet to be determined. I put Shamar Stewart 5th. I see them draft guys like Logan Lee and guys. I think they want that type of guy who's kind of a tweener, edge, defensive end, big guy against the run, playing Baltimore and 3rd and medium, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Maybe you want a guy like Shamar Stewart who's 270 on the edge, and maybe they go 3 outside linebackers. I don't know, but they keep drafting these guys, these tweeners. So I think there's some smoke there. And they did meet with him at the combine too. So just keep an eye on Shamar Stewart. Jackson Dart, I put as my 2nd round guys. If they want Jackson Dart, they're going to have to trade up. I'm pretty convinced he doesn't make it to 53. I'm almost positive. We talked about in the last podcast, it seems like if Tennessee drafts Abdul Carter and wants a quarterback, they're going to trade back in. If the Giants don't take a quarterback, they're probably going to trade back in. It could be Tyler Shuck, too. That's another guy who's getting early 2nd, late 1st buzz. So that's a possibility. Darius Alexander, this guy tested great. He's got long arms. 2nd round, I'd be very happy with him. Azariah Thomas, I told, he's like a Joey Porter clone, right? Long arms.
Right. If you watch their tape, they're handsy.
Yeah.
It's a carbon copy, which wouldn't be the worst thing if you're telling me, hey, I got Joey Porter on both sides of my defense. I don't hate that.
Somber says Dart won't make it to 21. It's interesting, man. I wouldn't be shocked. I've heard people say that. I think to play it safe, he's anywhere. What would you say, Bob? 16 to 30? 35?
I think anybody. I really don't. I don't have a first round feel on him. I think anybody who does it is just desperate. I honestly, I just, there are guys. Honestly, I like Kyle McCord better. Vaughn is mentioning Quinn Ewers. I don't hate Quinn Ewers because I know that I can get those guys on day 3. So, do I think there's a big difference between Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, and Jackson Dart? No. And I certainly wouldn't do it in the first round. Same thing with Tyler Shuck. I get him on day 3. I love that all day long. I have to draft him in the first round? Hell no.
Again, yeah, for the Steelers, probably not. For a team that's, got a good offensive coach, they might want to do that. Quinshawn Judkins, when I watched his tape, he's a lot like a Marion Hampton. He might even be tougher to bring down than a Marion Hampton. He's a load. I was so impressed with him. I'd be very happy with him in the second and say Matthew Golden in the first. Now you're talking. That would be great. Yeah. And I threw Isaiah Bond here. I know he ran a disappointing 40 at the combine. I bet when you go to Texas, I would not be surprised if he ran like a 4.3 flat at his own combine. I think the speed's there. And for whatever reason, he just choked when it came to his time to run the 40s. He just didn't get it done for whatever reason. The speed's there. This guy's fast. So I wouldn't – maybe second's a little early. But, man, again, Bob, I need a playmaker. I need some speed on this offense.
Oh, so, I agree. I mean, from a speed
you froze up there, Bob. Zach Franciscus just kicked in and said, Rossini just reported the Steelers are planning to make an offer for Sam Darnold. Oh, I don't know, man. Sam Darnold, to me, there's some, yeah. Somber, is that your thing on Darnold, too? He scares me. He kind of puckered up in the playoffs. Ugh. And that's going to cost you, what, $30 million per? $40 million per? But Sam Darnold, man, that's a big, big risk to take on that guy. And you're coming from maybe the best quarterback-friendly offense in football from the Vikings to the Steelers. That's a drop-off, man. I don't love it. Bob's coming back on. He had a little technical difficulty there. So, yeah, and Pickens would feed families. Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know about Sam Darnold. For me, I don't know how you guys feel. I think Daniel Jones would cost you a little less. He's a little bit more athletic than Darnold. Darnold needs the perfect situation to be successful. And he had that in Minnesota. He's definitely not getting that in Pittsburgh. That would be talk about culture shock coming to Pittsburgh. Ideally, the perfect scenario is Justin Fields. Anything short of that, and Uncle Aaron, of course. I almost forgot Uncle Aaron. He's number 2. If Aaron, again, my thing with Aaron Rodgers is he's got the background. He's got, this guy was an elite quarterback. Maybe he's not elite anymore, but he was. And just for the entertainment value. I mean, him with Mike Tomlin would be fantastic. Bob's back. Welcome back, Bob.
Yay!
I was just talking about if give us your 2 cents on Sam Darnold, because you cut out before you could.
Look, Sam Darnold had one good season with who I think is arguably the best coach in the NFL is Kevin O'Connell.
That's exactly what I said. Yep.
I don't think him and Arthur Smith would work. I'd rather, honestly, if I'm going free agent quarterback, and let's just say Justin Fields is out of the picture, he's off the table. We're not going Aaron Rodgers, even though, yeah, that would still be my preference. If it's Sam Darnold or Danny Dimes, give me Danny Dimes, because I think Arthur Smith with Danny Dimes he plays a similar game to what Ryan Tannehill did. I would really like to see what that looked like. And it kind of like with Aaron Rodgers, it would either go really good or really bad. And at that point, there's no Band-Aid on it anymore. I mean, Tomlin is completely exposed if that happens and it goes badly. Yep.
We're on the same page with it. I like Danny Dimes as a dart throw. We saw Nick Farabaugh, who I love. I've had him on the podcast, love him. He's talking about Malik Willis dart throws, and that's a little too far off center for me. Give me Daniel Jones as a dart throw. That's a risk that I'm willing to take. I mean, if you're talking about bringing Malik Willis in here, I mean, Jesus Christ.
We talked about this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. It's the ultimate fuck you to Kenny Pickett. I mean, it really is. And
why didn't they draft Malik Willis in the first place then? That was what everybody thought was going to happen that day.
Well, because we've seen him the last couple of years. He wasn't ready. But I will tell you this, Matt. He looked pretty good last year in Green Bay. I don't hate that idea from Nick Farabaugh. Wouldn't be my first choice, but I think you'd almost have to trade to get him. So I don't know that Green Bay's.
Yeah, you'd have to trade. I don't know what it would cost, but
yeah, I don't.
And then there's Milton from New England too. He kind of intrigues me a little bit too. He played one game, was last game of the season. He played pretty well. He's got a good arm. He's athletic. It's.
I watched him a lot at Tennessee. If I'm going to trade for a former Tennessee quarterback, give me Hooker from Detroit. Not who I don't think they would trade. By the way,
I don't think they're going to trade him. I think they really like him.
Milton could throw the ball 100 yards. There's no doubt about that. The kid has got a live arm. The problem is that you need somebody standing 100 yards away because, I mean, he's a little better accuracy than Anthony Richardson, but you're really talking Anthony Richardson level accuracy here. I do not like Milton's game from a passing standpoint. Yeah, he can run around. He can make some plays. He'll uncork a nice deep ball. But remember, we had that guy, and we didn't like that guy, or at least the Steelers did everything they could do to burn the bridges. He's going to go play somewhere else. Hopefully not. Fingers crossed. I don't want to jinx it. Rabbit's foots. Get everything out tonight, folks. Because if you don't hear he signs tonight,
it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
Mr. Grapefruit brought up a good one. Jameis Winston. All kidding aside, and there was nothing I would like more than to watch Mike Tomlin's head explode when Jameis Winston's on his third interception and it's only midway through the third quarter. Jameis Winston's pretty good quarterback. Not great, but pretty good. With this list, I'd take him over Russell Wilson. 100%. Daniel Jones? Would you take him over Daniel Jones? No, you like Daniel Jones. You like him a little bit more than I do.
Yeah.
The problem is he likes to throw in the middle of the field. He likes to push the ball downfield, and Mike Tomlin hates all of that. So that's never going to happen.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there's a better chance of, and I don't think this is going to happen either, but there's a better chance of Mason Rudolph coming back to the Steelers than getting Jameis Winston.
They got a better chance of getting
the rumor is
Tom Brady to come back.
Yeah, the rumor is that Jacksonville is in play for Jameis Winston to back up Trevor Lawrence.
That's interesting.
So, look, if we don't get Aaron Rodgers, I don't want Kirk Cousins, but I could see him doing something crazy like that. If we don't get any of those top 2 or 3 guys be left over, it all becomes 6 and 1, half dozen the other. So then at that point, why not just throw out, okay, let's draft Kyle McCord, Jackson Dart, if you get him in the right round. Let's draft one of those guys and just throw them out there because we'll probably suck. And because they're rookies, we won't be able to, as long as we don't get married to them. I don't want to, throw the rookie out there and then we're married to him for 3 years. We throw the rookie out there because he sucks and we know he sucks and we're going to go draft a better guy next year. I mean, Russell Wilson to me is the ultimate just wave the way. Sign TJ to $40 million, re-sign Russell Wilson. Congratulations. We're going to win 8 to 10 games next year and get blown out in the playoffs if we make it.
The more I think about the Sam Darnold thing, the more it scares me. Because I think there's all of a sudden, on the cusp of free agency, there's a lot of smoke with the Steelers and Sam Darnold. Is this their big offseason plan? Is this their big, splash that they're going to make?
It's not the first time his name has come up either. I mean, when he left the Jets before Carolina, they were, hey, should we go get Sam Darnold? Hey, should we go get – look, if you watch him play, he played really good this year, but he kind of choked in the playoffs. But he didn't really choke if you've watched his career. He played his normal game in the playoffs. Look, you think Jameis Winston throws a lot of interceptions? I mean, Sam Darnold is also an interception machine.
Yeah. I know you didn't. We have a group chat for the Steelers Sanctuary guys and girl. You guys didn't like the Geno Smith. You didn't really want Geno Smith. I did. I thought it was a big miss that they didn't at least. A third round pick seemed like a bargain for Geno Smith to me. But if they're all in on Sam Darnold, it makes a lot more sense to me. I don't agree with it, but it makes a lot more sense.
I think Vaughn had a good point in chat that there's a good chance he ends up in Seattle. Let's face it. The reason, Geno Smith had a pretty good year 3 years ago. Actually, he had a really good year 3 years ago.
He had a really good year.
He's been slightly above average the last 2 years, and it's steadily going downhill. So he's in the last year of his $25 million contract, and he wants a raise. So I still don't think the Raiders are going to do it. I think they got him as a bridge for Shedeur. But that being said, let's just say they bend because they're stupid and they're the Raiders. And then at that point, I made this point the other day, then we know Tom Brady sucks at more than announcing. And he's going to be a Michael Jordan.
Maybe he sees what I see in Geno Smith, which is a very accurate quarterback. Look.
He's 34 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 34 at quarterback is, not as bad as 34 at defensive tackle or corner or something like that.
True, but
I think Geno Smith was the best quarterback available this year. I really do. He's better than Danny Dimes. He's better than Sam Darnold. He's better than Justin Fields. He's better than Russell Wilson. He's better than Uncle Aaron, who maybe passed his prime.
Yeah, I was with you till you said that name. No,
well, it depends on which Uncle Aaron you get. If he could turn back the clock a couple of years, then I'd agree with you. I think it's by far he's the best. And if you only have to make it like a 2 or 3 year commitment to him.
Yeah, but you're okay. So I think it's 3 years ago he throws 30 touchdowns. 2 years ago he throws 20. Last year he throws 21, but he also throws 14 interceptions. He's thrown a bunch of interceptions the whole way, and now he's 34. I'm paying him 25. Look, okay, fine. I give you 2 years at $60 million. Okay, I can maybe see it. It depends on what the Raiders do here. If the Raiders keep him for 1 for 25 as a bridge, it's a really good deal. But think about who traded for him. Pete Carroll. So was Pete Carroll willing to pay a little bit higher price for Geno, who he likes and who he promoted over Russell Wilson, than anybody else would? I mean, me personally, I don't want to pay Russell Wilson. I don't want to pay a 34-year-old quarterback who is, at best, a 15 to 20 range quarterback. I don't want to pay him $40 million a year for the worst part of his career. And I think the next 3 years, there's just going to be a steady downslide. He's better than Russell Wilson. I absolutely agree with that. I don't think he's better than Justin Fields because of the style that he'd have to play here. Hey, if they both go to Kevin O'Connell's offense, Geno's better. But in the Pittsburgh offense, I need a guy who can run, and Geno ain't that.
Here's the thing, and my number one option is Justin Fields because I don't think the Steelers can win this year, no matter who they put at quarterback. So give me a young guy with a little upside. We'll find out if he's any good, and then you just move on if not. But the Steelers don't think that way. The Steelers think they're a quarterback away. They think that if they get like someone good at quarterback, they can win. And that's what just irritates me about this organization. They don't self-assess at all. Oh, they don't do it well. They think they're in this with a quarterback, and they're not. You're not beating Buffalo, Kansas City, teams like that. You're not leapfrogging those teams in the next couple of years. So sign a young quarterback, sign a couple of young players, and build this team. Don't go shortcut. And if you're going to go shortcut, give me Geno Smith then. Or give me Aaron Rodgers. Make it entertaining for me. One of those two guys.
I think Aaron is more entertaining. And Geno, I get it because, he's got the kind of hometown tie with the West Virginia. I understand it. I just, at least with Aaron, you can point to this guy's going to the Hall of Fame. And as much as I kind of disagree with the case, you could say Russell Wilson was a borderline Hall of Famer. You can't really say that about Geno. I'd take him all day over Russell Wilson. But, honestly, this whole, we're going to make an offer to Sam Darnold. I mean, you're right. They think they're a quarterback away. They couldn't be more wrong.
They couldn't be more wrong. They couldn't be. Not these quarterbacks. If Justin Herbert was available or somebody like that, well, then maybe we could talk. But Sam Darnold's not going to do it. Daniel Jones isn't going to do it. Russell Wilson. None of these guys are going to put them over the top this year. So
you need a transcendent quarterback. And I mean, honestly, that's why I like Fields so much, because of all the guys available, the guy who has the most natural talent, and I get he hasn't necessarily showed it on the field, but the most potential for possibly becoming a franchise guy, unless you get really lucky in the draft, is Fields. I mean, the best part of his career, if he pops suddenly, is with him. He's got an offensive coordinator, if he comes back to Pittsburgh, that absolutely loves him and wants to build the offense around his strengths. So,
and I've heard comments on Twitter like he's a career backup. Why? Well, okay, maybe, but at least he has the potential to be something else. None of these other guys, we know what they are. We know what Sam Darnold is, and can you imagine him playing behind this offensive line under pressure constantly?
It looked like it did in Carolina and the Jets.
Yeah. Yes. You're going to get the New York Jets, Sam Darnold.
You know what? Honestly, if this gets the power out of Tomlin's hands, let's just say he's driving this, okay? If this is what ultimately finally gets the power out of his hands, because if the Steelers sign, look, for you younger fans who didn't live through this, David Woodley, Mark Malone, Bubby Brister, I mean, the names went on and on and on in the 80s and really all the way up until Ben. I mean, the Steelers have never been good at evaluating quarterbacks. If they get Sam Darnold, it is just the most recent of a long, long line of mistakes. I mean, in franchise history, the whole 90 years, we've had two franchise quarterbacks, another Hall of Famer who we got rid of, Johnny Unitas, Len Dawson, Earl Morrall, to get Bobby Lane, who is a Hall of Famer, on the downside of his career. And he was the only, I mean, if you go back in the Steelers' history, was really the only quarterback who played great until Bradshaw showed up. And it wasn't even that he was great. He just won games, and he was a high-level quarterback.
So Justin Fields isn't the guy. Is it Aaron Rodgers? Is it Aaron Rodgers as your second choice?
Honestly, I think I'd rather roll the dice on Danny Dimes, because kind of the same thing. I mean, if Danny Dimes and Arthur Smith click, you could get a Ryan Tannehill resurgence out of Danny Dimes.
What is Daniel Jones gonna command in free agency?
Being that he got released and took basically the backup role with Minnesota. I mean, I think it's possible you could get him maybe like a 12 to 15 million for 2 years on a prove it deal. I mean, maybe
again, Bob, if you're Daniel Jones, I just thought of this. I didn't mean to cut you off. And you're trying to resurrect your career. Are you coming to Pittsburgh?
With Arthur Smith and Daniel Jones' skill set, I would strongly consider it. If I was Daniel Jones, yes.
He has that skill set, but he's injury kind of plagued too. So does he want to be a running quarterback?
Well,
his options are going to be limited. So
yeah, the interesting thing about Jones is that it's not that Arthur Smith's quarterbacks need to run with the ball. It's kind of like Tannehill. I want you to run to throw. I want to run those boot actions.
Yeah.
Which, remember, they all but disappeared. The boot actions all but disappeared when they transitioned from Fields to Wilson.
It did. And then, boy, what is Sam Darnold going to get? 40 per?
If they pay him 40, I mean, can you imagine if the Steelers gave Sam Darnold $40 million?
That's what's going to take, right? That's what's going to take. Someone's going to pay him that. Seattle is going to pay him that. No,
I don't know. It's hard to say, because
those last 2 games cost him.
If you watch tape from last year, okay, yeah, you're maybe a $35-40 million guy. But if you watch the whole rest of his career, you're like, yeah, you can have $3 million. You can have a Mason Rudolph contract.
Scares me. The Sam Darnold thing scares me. Signing Sam Darnold and re-upping with TJ, your cap space is all gone for the next couple of years, and you are no closer to winning than you were the last couple of years.
Yeah.
All right, we've gone long. This has been an hour 50 minutes. This has been a lot of fun.
Yep. And
all of you guys
to
that have joined
in
us.
the chat for
The chat was great today as usual. 1 p.m. next Sunday if you want to join us again. We'll cook up something good for draft stuff. There'll be some pro days we can talk about between now and then, so we can talk about that. Am I forgetting anything else? The store.
Yeah.
Check out some Steelers Sanctuary swag. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, guys. That helps us out immensely. We'll be back on tomorrow, 6:30.
Yes, 6:30
for our regular
tomorrow.
podcast. I'm reading and
we'll have
hopefully
some news tomorrow.
Yeah, there'll be no news tomorrow. Any bold predictions, Bob? Before we go, what are the Steelers going to do? What's going to be their big signing?
I got a feeling it's might be DJ Reed.
Could be.
It really depends on how much they pay him, on how much I'll like that deal. I really hope it's not. We're talking about Sam Darnold tomorrow night.
I'm afraid. I really am afraid that that's going to be the move.
Vaughn
Vaughn brings up Williams. That's my guy too, from Philly.
Yeah.
Milton Williams, 100% Vaughn. That would be a good signing.
I will. I have a sneaking feeling we're not going to be talking about anybody at the quarterback position. Because
that's a nightmare scenario, right? Where they're in a week into this, and all the quarterbacks are gone, and it's Russ.
Well, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone quickly.
That's true.
If he does, I'd be really shocked. But I don't see Aaron going quickly. Russ won't be there. Russ will be there. I think if it is, they're really rolling the dice that they can convince Fields. But I think we're both of the same opinion. If Fields don't happen tonight, it probably doesn't happen.
I would be shocked if he's not signed by tonight, that he ends up back in the Steelers later on in the week. I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We've got you covered in the draft from all the way. I'll probably have a couple more guests about the draft. We're going to do this every Sunday. We'll talk about it on a regular podcast. 1 p.m. next Sunday.
Profiles.
Yep. And Bob's daily profile is doing a great job with that. Keep an eye on him. He does a mock draft every Tuesday. I do one probably every other week on the site. Check out SteelersSanctuary.com if you want to see mine. We got you guys covered. 1 p.m. next Sunday, 6:30 tomorrow. Thanks for coming on, guys. We appreciate it. Until next time, thanks for listening to Steelers Sanctuary Podcast.
Ain't nothing over till it's over.
What's that from, the 80s?
It's probably the 70s.
Now what the fuck are we supposed to do?
This is disappointing as hell.
Yo, come back now, you hear?
Saw that coming.